that I really want to try and emphasize a lot within the business, especially internally, is accepting people for who they are. And that doesn't mean that just accepting people within the Pride community, because actually what I take from the Pride community is that they do accept people for who they are. You know, because of what they've had to go through, they know that you shouldn't judge people. And I think that's what will really help us internally. One, to build an organisation where people from the LGBTQ plus community want to be a part of, but also an organisation where we're more understanding of people's differences, the way that different people might approach things, the way that, you know, just being more understanding as humans of each other, because ultimately that's what's got them to where they are now. So if you continue to embrace it, everyone will just be really, you know, successful together, but also want to work together in a harmonious way. Starting from last year, in Feb, we launched Fab Feb, basically to make people more included in what we were doing. So yes, there was a lot of fun, but there was also some educational pieces as well. But the whole premises of Fab Feb was essentially taking from what I've personally learned from the LGBTQ plus community, in that you being your authentic self means that you're sort of bringing your best self, and that could be your best self to your workplace, could be best self to your friends, it could be your best self to your personal life. It's essentially by accepting who you are and being your authentic self, you are your most fabulous self. So it was about making that kind of message relevant to the business at Investigo, to say, you know, just because you're not LGBTQ yourself doesn't mean that you can't learn from that community and kind of take, you know, information from that community and actually better yourself in whichever way that, you know, you can. So that's where the Fab Feb came from. So we did things like on Valentine's Day, we didn't make it purely about Valentine's, we made it about acknowledging people for being fabulous. So we had red heart balloons with all the Pride colours, and everybody internally could pay a donation to charity and then buy a balloon for a colleague or a friend at work, and would write a note to say you're fabulous because, and they were sent anonymously. So when everybody came into the office that day, there was a sea of red balloons and little messages of why people think everybody else is fabulous. So it kind of created this acknowledgement of what people appreciate about each other. And it wasn't just work related, it was what they appreciate about you as a person. So that was a lovely thing that we did. We did articles, we did some educational lunch and learns. So we did a lunch and learn around LGBT history. We did like demystifying LGBT. So there's a lot of terms and terminology that are used, which a lot of people don't necessarily understand. And obviously, to some degree, that's why people avoid having a conversation, because they don't know if what they're going to say is the wrong thing. So we did a bit of a demystifying lunch and learn. It was just a very, you know, open conversation where people could ask questions that, you know, you feel more comfortable with talking about LGBT either to or about the community. We did an event on LGBTQ plus young people, and the premise of the event was, it was internal. We had a speaker from Mermaids, and it was essentially talking around LGBTQ young people and what they go through and how you can support them. It was a real sort of educational piece, so that essentially we're equipping our generation, who aren't necessarily, you know, knowledgeable around the generations after us and what they're going through in their lives, so that we can have better informed conversations if they do come across. And actually, we got a huge presence. I believe it was I think it was the largest attended D&I event that we had that year internally, because obviously it did resonate that, you know, a lot of people wouldn't know how to have those conversations. And it was actually a really good event, and I believe it did probably educate quite a few people and give them, you know, some really good talking pieces, some tools and some education around how they can then have those conversations. We also did for the end of the month, we did a celebration where we had a charity day where we had cocktails, and we had a bit of everybody had to wear really colourful clothes, and it was to donate money to charity, and then we all apparel sort of went out as well. So there was a lot of things that were done in Fab Feb, and we actually raised £800 for charity within that month. So it was to LGBT Switchboard, which obviously supports young people within the LGBT community. So they were really grateful for what we did within that month.